Welcome to the Challenges of Change, the podcast where we explore the transformative journey towards self-improvement and personal growth. I'm your host, Laura, a mindset coach in the health and fitness industry, here to guide you through the hurdles that life throws at you. In each episode, we'll delve into practical strategies and insightful discussions to help you manage stress, regulate your emotions, upgrade your mindset, and ultimately reclaim your sense of worth. I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey of change, challenges, and self-discovery. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Challenges of Change. And I am so excited because I have a beautiful guest with me today. You finally get to meet the one and only Sophia Rose. And I just have to say, when I was getting to know Sophia, she was such a light, and I am so excited for you guys to get to know her too. So, Sophia, I would love if you told everyone a little bit about you.
Sure. Thank you for your nice comments. It's been a pleasure. It was a pleasure meeting you as well. Talk about light, a bright light. So, I always say, I think I even said to you, when we first met that I think I came out at coach, out of my mother's womb. So it's kind of just been in my blood, sort of my whole life. I was trying to help my parents with their problems and things like that. And so, I had some challenges with my health, with my weight, with the stress, my parents' divorce. And so I went through a lot when I was younger, and got interested in health and wellness pretty young. And then really what was the big catalyst was my mother, when I was in college, ended up getting cancer and died of cancer. And that was a big turning point for me when I said, I want to go into health and wellness. And even at that young age, I was quite young, I realized that health was more than, you couldn't separate it from our life. It's all interconnected, and from relationships. I kind of saw what my mother was going through in her life. And so, I just went on the path of teaching health education and then coaching. And I've been coaching and teaching, in the health and wellness industry for 20 years now. And I worked at, the Optimum Health Institute for many years, coaching and teaching there. But I also noticed while I was there, mostly women came there, that underneath all the different problems, health problems, physical, mental, emotional, stress issues, there seemed to be a lack of self-love, a need for more self-love and self-empowerment. And I saw the connection between relationship challenges and health challenges. So I ended up starting my own practice too, on the side, coaching practice that I call the Love Heals Method. And the rest is kind of history there. That's my passion is, I help both men and women, but, helping women is my, specialty.
Absolutely. And thank you for being so open about your history. I do find that, when people get into kind of this genre of like coaching or trying to help people, like it's normally motivated from some of their personal experience. I know mine was too.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about, recognizing that health isn't just like your physical fitness, and we can't like segment parts of ourselves. And so I think that leads us perfectly into our topic for today, which is healthy relationships and health in relationships. And what I loved about what you kind of clarified is like your time at the Institute is you kept noticing, I mean, women were the ones who were coming in more consistently, but that you would notice that underlying all these issues was a lack of self-love. And I feel like that's not surprising, which kind of sucks, honestly. And it makes me curious, where do you feel like we lost the idea or was never taught the importance of self-love? What do you think?
Do you think, are you asking about we as women in particular?
We as people.
Just we as people. Okay. where we lost that idea. I don't know. I guess you're assuming that we had it at one point, because I don't know that like my parents were taught about that and the importance of self-love. I don't know that their parents were. So we'd have to go way, way back. I don't know exactly when we lost it. I just know how important it is to cultivate it, right? To work on it, because for relationships, the relationship we have with ourselves is the foundation of the relationship that we have with others. So it's so vitally important. It's crucial.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, because whether we lost it or it was never taught, it seems so like written into so many key foundational things. Like if we think back to like tribal days, like being in community and supporting each other, like maybe it wasn't a specific narrative of self-love within it, but definitely a space of belonging and cultivating and nurturing like supportive systems. But I even think to like religious spaces, like I feel like the essence of most religion is love at its core. The understanding of how and why and all the split pieces, we'll let other people in the religious realm decipher that. But the foundation, like our greatest energy source and our greatest light, is love. And, I recently was listening to Brene Brown's HBO special, The Atlas of the Heart, and she was talking about near enemies. And pretty much what she was saying is like the concept of like far enemies, we know, like the opposite of love is hate, right? But what's the near enemy of connection is what she was talking about. And what the research shows is that the near enemy of connection is control. And if I think about healthy relationships and health in relationships, I think that's really where things started to get distorted, is a loving desire to protect, a loving desire to nurture and support and help be successful, but that can come across as controlling. And, you kind of get into the differences of intention versus execution. And I know I've experienced people in my life who had positive, loving intentions, but their execution was the opposite of anything that would breed connection.
Yes, and you said an interesting word there is control, because I think a lot of people have a loving intention, like you said, maybe with their loved ones or their partner, but there's also fear. Usually control is coming from fear, right? Yeah. They're afraid of something. They care about you. And then so the control seems to come from fear, even though they love you. That's the deep, like you're saying, the deep core feeling.
So when it comes to self-love and kind of cultivating that necessary foundation, where does control show up? Where does it help? Where does it hurt?
With yourself, I mean, loving yourself, where does control? Well, I try sometimes really to stay away from that word control. That's why, and use the word power instead. Because sometimes there is a negative connotation with control, like forcing something, right? Where, forcing a change like on the outside versus connecting with the power that you have on the inside, right? To make changes. So I think with my coaching system that I call the Love Heals method, it's based in self-love and self-empowerment. And the love is actually the fuel, for that power. It's actually what gives us power to make changes. I mean, just think about health. You have to love yourself to care about yourself and want to eat healthy, want to exercise, right? There's got to be some kind of level of self-love.
So not necessarily. Let me like devil's advocate here for a second.
Yeah.
My beginning was as a personal trainer, and I literally remember like verbally beating myself up to get myself to exercise. So I could actually argue so much of like that health is motivated through shame or insecurity and judgment, not self-love.
That's true. That's true. I do agree with that. Actually, excellent point. Something that I always say and teach is that the lasting changes come when we're working on our health or other changes when they're coming from love. If they're coming from shame, as you said, self-criticism, which a lot of people do, especially women with their bodies, criticizing their bodies, the changes, even if they do succeed, say in losing some weight, usually comes right back because of that,
100%. Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
And I remember learning like the 4 levels of motivation. It was like shame was the bottom,
Right.
fear was second, purpose was third, and love was top. And that was exactly what I experienced that inspired me to become a trainer or I'm sorry, to become a coach is I was so tired of helping people lose weight just so they could gain it back. And I'm like, what's going on? And mind you, at that time, I was not necessarily in the most loving relationship with myself, so I didn't get it. And then I explored coaching. It was like the doors opened and all this love came in. And I was like, wow, this feels way better.
Yes, yes. I was thinking when I answered that, I guess of the lasting changes when people are really working and the changes last, it comes from love. But I couldn't agree with you more that so many people are not coming from that place. And that's part of the problem. You know, why they
So
struggle with the same patterns.
yes. And I
Hmm.
think like coming back to control and, I know, you decipher the language, but for audience ease, I'm going to use control just to be congruent.
Hmm.
Um, what I've witnessed with clients is when they grew up in environments with parents who had loving intentions to want to try and protect them, but maybe were overstepping their child, aka my clients, boundaries and not allowing that person to create their own power. In a weird way, that control kind of like seeps into their own experience. So like when I've worked with people trying to help them reconnect with their power, their love, I'll hear moments, especially in the beginning of I should do this, I have to do this, and it's never enough, and they always think they need to be perfect, and it always needs to be more, and it's like they're still trying to recreate the experience that parent had created for them, but within themselves. It's like if they don't have control, they're afraid something bad will happen.
Yeah, well, absolutely. To me, how we learn to have a relationship with ourselves, whether it's loving or not, is based on the relationship that we have with our primary caretakers. That's how we learn, right, to
Right.
love ourselves. So if a parent is controlling with us, if a parent is critical with us, then exactly that's how we'll be with ourselves until we're aware, right, of what's going on, that we don't have to be that way. There's another way.
Yeah, that's the challenge, right? When we become aware that we can change how we relate to ourselves and others. And
Yes. Yes.
unfortunately, that awareness always seems to come in a painful way, right?
Yes, because it's kind of not conscious a lot of times. You know, we don't even realize that we have a relationship with ourselves sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
People don't think of
We
that.
definitely don't. And I remember, one of the things that I always used to get told about myself that didn't make sense to me was that I was intimidating. And it didn't, like, I genuinely didn't make sense to me. I didn't get it. And I would even ask clients, like, who I'd worked with for years, like, okay, why did you sign up with me for further training sessions? And some of them would say because they were intimidated by me. And I'm like, huh? And they're like, oh no, now that we know you, you're totally fine. I'm like, oh great, that makes it so much more comforting. But I didn't get it. So I would just assume and accept that I am intimidating. That would be part of my story that influenced my relationship with myself.
Hmm.
And as I got into coaching and was able to recognize how people project their insecurities on you and like label you rather than saying, I'm feeling intimidated, they would tell me I'm intimidating,
Yes.
like created this understanding of myself that I did not understand. It was just like, okay, this is how people experience me sometimes. No idea why, but apparently it's a thing. And through coaching, I was able to kind of decipher a lot of those messages. And I found that it was really helpful for me to help heal that relationship, to recognize what are my truths, what my story is, what my narrative is, and what was projected on me based on other people's limitations, belief systems, insecurities, etc. And it doesn't like, I am a big advocate, like when you're doing this personal growth work, like I don't blame anyone in my life for any of the stuff that I got because I was an undeveloped brain trying to digest the world. And like, it is a collaborative effort. It does not matter what they did because I was so fortunate to have so many loving people in my life. But what matters now is that I am the adult and I get to choose how I live. And it's my responsibility regardless of what they did. So I make the distinction because I feel like so many people are quick to like look outward to blame, but that's not empowerment. Like empowerment is radical responsibility and accountability, right?
Exactly, exactly. It's definitely, I always say that too. It's not about blaming when we look at our parents or our upbringing. That just puts you in the victim
Right.
point. It's more just we need to have the awareness, of where our patterns came from or how we came to have this relationship so that we could choose, like you said, to have a different relationship, to love ourselves
Yeah.
so that we could take like you said, our truth, that's kind of taking our power back. What is really true, for
Mhm.
me? Um,
And I have like three ways I want to go with this, but I want to put a pin in the control connection thing. One of the things I notice within myself and even when I coach people is when they're leaning into control, that's their fear trying to communicate with them. And
mhm,
I know the urge to control outward. I get it. I understand it. I also accept it's impossible. Like COVID was such a like slam dunk, like slap across the face. Like you think you have control, nice try. Like COVID will mess shit up for 2 years. Um, and it really shifted the whole idea of control to me to be, okay, if I'm craving control inward or outward, it means I'm feeling insecure. And the
mhm.
solution is actually that I need to reconnect with myself and trust my intuition because I feel like being in a healthy relationship with yourself is also about working with your emotions and with your energies and understanding yourself so that you can cooperate rather than trying to shun parts of you away. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of the way I describe or define self-love is it's actually connecting with yourself, connecting with your body, being present in your body, connecting with your emotions, which is huge. You're connecting with your intuition. It's connecting with yourself is relating to yourself is love, right? Self-love.
So what if someone is struggling with that connection right now? Let's say someone listening is like, okay, like I don't fully get this, but like, how would I know? How would they know that they're struggling to connect with themselves? What would that maybe look like?
A lot of times it looks like, well, instead of having some of your attention or awareness in yourself to be connected with yourself, they will be very outer directed. And so what's going on with everybody else out there? You know what I mean? What do they need? And then you get into the people pleasing kind of
Yeah.
mode, right? So you're not even connected to what you need, what you want, what you're feeling, but you're so tuned in to everyone else. That's how I was growing up for sure. Uh, for many years, I didn't even realize I wasn't connected to myself. And so that's how it usually will manifest in the people pleasing and not able to set boundaries, not clear on what you're thinking or feeling because you're so focused on everyone else.
Yes. Definitely people pleasing for sure. I would also say that, if you're like addicted to achievement or
Mm-hmm.
urgency or,
Yes.
always stressed out, like always looking for what's next, keeping yourself busy. One of
Mm-hmm.
the main ways that I test my clients to see where they're at is like, I tell them to go sit, like just sit, do nothing and set a timer and like be inside, be outside, but like look at nature and see how long you can do it and enjoy it. And it's the funniest experiment because some people are like, I got 8 seconds. Some people are like, I got two. And then there's other people who can handle, 2 to 10 minutes. And I think that it really speaks to the imbalance between like that, the fear, ego driven nature that was sometimes given to us and our capability to really nurture via love into that more connected state by learning to relax, and not just learning to relax, but like learning to value the importance of rest. Something I continue to dance with. I'm going to be fully clear with. And I know you know that, like there are times I'm like very good at being chill, and there are times I'm like, let's go, go, go. And those are typically the times that I'm like, I gotta stop. What's going on that's making me feel like I need to escape myself? And it's been a very powerful practice, I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's so, so true, is that we really do. I mean, love comes from, the energy of love really comes from our heart, and we do need to relax. It's like when we relax our nervous system, this beautiful cycle starts. It helps our heart to open, and then we feel more love, and then that love is relaxing and actually calms our nervous system. So it's a great cycle. But you're absolutely right. If we don't feel like safe, we don't feel relaxed, we're not calm, we're stressed out, it's going to be hard to connect with that love, feel the love, whether it's for ourselves and sometimes even for others.
Yes. And even for things. And that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
where I want to take this is one of the things that I've noticed as kind of a reoccurring theme that inhibits connection or love, be that, your relationship with exercise, your relationship with your body, your relationship with food, your relationship with traffic, even. Like we have a relationship to everything, be that us, people, and the items that we regularly engage with. What role do you think receiving plays in love?
Well, it's hugely important. There's that common message. It's better to give than to receive. I mean, how many people know that and have heard that? And, it's just so really not true, because it's like yin and yang equal. Receiving is just as important as giving, right? Receiving, some people have difficulty with receiving because there's a vulnerability, I think, is connected with that.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And so vulnerability, as Brene Brown talks about, is so crucial for connection, right? And for intimacy.
Yeah. And
So,
I think it's even deeper than that. Like, okay, body shame, for example, because a lot of women deal with body shame. And I mean, men do too.
yes.
And like, if you do I remember this. I used to do like a hard workout, and rather than like receiving the rewards from my body, rather than appreciating, what it just did for me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would tell it it's not good enough. I would shame it. And that is a really crappy way of receiving. And no wonder my body was like, screw you. We're going to tack on a little bit more fat, because it was so mean. It was not a very nurturing relationship. And knowing that I've previously struggled with body image issues, I've made a regular practice that after I do any type of movement, even if I just go for like a quick 5-minute walk, like
Mm-hmm.
I pause before I go to the next thing, and I just like close my eyes and I check in I feel my body and I just appreciate it. And I will also say one of the things that helped me with that is I've broken like 9 bones throughout my athletic career. And I remember how annoying it was to not be able to use different parts of my body. And
Yeah.
I have this vivid memory when I was in Chicago driving along, Lakeshore Drive, and it's a beautiful drive. And all I could think about was running on Lakeshore Drive. I hate running. I don't like running. I don't know why I was even dreaming of that. And once my broken foot at the time healed, the only reason I ran was because I remember dreaming of it. And I was like, okay, I have to do it once. And I went for one run on Lakeshore Drive, but it was like, it was the desire to have that functional body. And it's so funny that we refuse to receive the gifts now that we get from our body, our mind, people. But then years down the line, we wished we would have appreciated it back then.
Oh,
Right?
yeah. Right, right. Or when you lose something, you definitely have that. And appreciation is connected with receptivity, like you're saying.
Right.
We
That's
receive something, we
100%.
appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
That's what I think is missing. It's
Mm-hmm. Yes.
like I really think the vulnerability associated with receiving, as you said, is what stops us from really accessing that deep meaningful connection state that so many of us crave. Is that what you see with some of your clients?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So how do you coach them around that?
Well, I think what's connected to with receptivity, vulnerability, appreciation is it goes back to like presence, I think, and slowing down. Like you were saying, with so many people are go, 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 go. Um, do, give, right? Instead of slowing down, taking, like you were saying, can you sit for 5 minutes and just be with yourself, right? And tune in. And going back to relationships, I think that's sometimes people are why they're in relationships that aren't very healthy because they're afraid to be with themselves, right? Be present with themselves to, tune into what's really going on with them and what they really want and their feelings, etc. So it really starts with being present and grounded and connected to yourself, starting with your physical body, your feelings, your intuition, your emotions, your thoughts.
Yeah. The value of
Slowing down.
down. Absolutely.
Taking some time to go within.
Yeah. And I remember, I read Jay Shetty's book, Think Like a Monk. And one of the things he said that I captured was, did you read that book too?
No, it's on my list.
Well, he talks about like he didn't understand when he first became a monk, like why they had to do so many dishes and all these mundane tasks, and he would get really irritated by it. And ultimately, it was moments to be grounded, to be present, to appreciate running water, to appreciate the mobility of your hands, to just be present and receive the gifts around you. Yeah. And I think like depending on the client, when we're talking about healthy relationships or health in relationships, be that themselves or any of the other objects we've already discussed, I normally start at receiving because there's something I love giving. Don't get me wrong. I actually like it so much. I have a problem that I give too much and my friend gives me a hard time for it.
Me too.
I love giving, but it's almost like there's a power to giving and a vulnerability to receiving. And I think the problem when it comes to healthy relationships with another person is when we are too insecure or uncomfortable or scared or vulnerable, you choose your word, to receive, we're also rejecting. And that was a hard thing that I know I had to realize in a personal relationship I had. And I was like, that is not my intention. So I definitely need to expand my self-love to be able to receive from myself.
Yes. I think there's a quote where we can't or oftentimes won't accept a level of love that's greater than our level of self-love.
You're in my brain. That was exactly what I was thinking. Like you can only love yourself to the depth that, no, you can only receive love from others to the depth that you love yourself or something like that.
Right. There's different ways to say it, but yeah.
And I remember reading that and being like, and I've read it in so many books too. I'm like, oh, I get it. Okay. But I'm so grateful that I got it because it also tells me anytime I feel like something's lacking in a relationship, it's also a mirror to kind of look within and be like, okay, where are you contributing rather than looking to that external person, right?
Yes. The other person will often mirror us. Sometimes they'll oftentimes mirror how we treat ourselves. If you're not very compassionate with yourself, you may be very compassionate with other people. But you find, well, I'm attracting people that aren't very compassionate or empathetic with me. I don't understand. I'm compassionate with them. But when you look within, it's like, oh, I'm not compassionate though with myself. And that's what they're mirroring back. I see that happening a lot.
Yes. Okay. So here's kind of my final question. I say that and I'm probably going to bite myself in the mouth. I always try and say I have 3 questions and then I have so many. When it comes to healthy relationships with stuff or people or ourselves, what role and impact do emotions play?
Wow. Yeah, that's a big, that's a
I
big,
know.
I mean, just thinking of human relationships, all right, it's a huge, huge thing because we get emotionally triggered, right? A lot of times the closer we are to a person. So it's so important for us to know how to, I don't know what word you can use. Sometimes I call it master our emotions, manage our emotions, have emotional intelligence, so that we need so many people. We don't get an education on our emotions. We should have a class, emotions 101 or something in school,
Sure.
because they're there to motivate us. They're there to teach us. They're there to guide us, right? They're giving us important information. So it really is extremely important in relationships, to be in touch with your own emotions so that you're not projecting them on other people, so that you're not reacting and causing more problems, you know what I mean? Where you can go and be with yourself and get clear, and then you can communicate it in a better way. I mean, I can go on this topic for a whole other podcast, how important it
And-
is, emotions. Yeah, to be in touch.
yeah, nothing like a soft topic to try and close things up.
Try to do with that one. I could go on and on for that.
Well, I totally agree with you. And I have often thought, like, how do we get one of these courses in schools? Like, I
Hmm.
wish we had like a course about like taxes and mindset and emotions.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and we do have a school. We really do learn about emotions growing up from our parents. And unfortunately, though, they didn't have a school. They didn't learn
Right.
how to work with their emotions either. So again, it's not blaming them. It's just
Right.
lack of
Right.
awareness is just gets passed along.
And I don't have children, but I have a lot of friends who have kids. And one of the things I've learned is that kids are very exhausting, like incredibly exhausting. And so it's pretty impossible to expect anyone to be in their optimal emotional regulation when you are 24/7 on a clock running the show. And
Hmm. Hmm.
I know I was learning this in my neurosomatic intelligence course about the true purpose of our emotions. And I feel like growing up, what we learn about emotions is dependent on the parent's ability to hold space for any given emotion, right? So,
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that I love have a hard time seeing people they love in pain,
Yeah.
guilty, right?
Me too.
And I've definitely made the mistake in the past of wanting to fix their pain, not understanding that that also sends the message that your pain isn't welcome with me. You can
Mm.
only be happy and around me. And I don't think that's ever a parent's intention. But again, this goes back to the self-love, right? So like when you can expand your comfort or ability or awareness to hold space for all of your emotions,
Yes.
and you do, or if you choose to become a parent, you're also going to be able to hold space for your kids' emotions because you're comfortable within that space, understanding, yeah, sadness comes up sometimes. And
Mm.
this is what I found so freaking intriguing from my course. There's a part of our brain called the insula. And when our brain is in a non-threat mode, blood increases its flow to our insula, and our insula has like three objectives, but one of the main ones is to turn emotional input into physical action, aka the purpose of our emotions is to motivate us.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And that makes so much sense, like just based on where it is in the brain. Like
Hmm.
we weren't taught, when you're feeling sad, that's your body's way of trying to help you like reach out for help. When you're angry, it's your body's way of saying a boundary was crossed or you're feeling misunderstood. Like
Exactly.
it's
That's good.
craving an action. I feel like we were taught like, oh, that's your feeling. Go figure it out. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I know sometimes when I use the word master our emotions, people say, oh, does that mean we don't feel them or no, I'm saying, just like you're saying, you hold the space for them, you master them by understanding what their message is, what they're asking you to do, like set a boundary. Just, you're angry. Totally agree, what you're saying.
Okay. This is really my last question.
Okay.
Can you be healthy in relationships and disconnected or resistant to your emotions?
I don't think so. I don't think that you can have a healthy relationship, because if you're disconnected from your own emotions, like you're saying, you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself.
Right.
That's a given. So therefore it's going to make it extremely challenging to have a healthy relationship with someone else, because it starts with the relationship you have with yourself, and that includes the relationship that you have with your own emotions.
Yeah, I don't really think so either. Like,
I
can
don't.
you be in a relationship? Sure. A
Sure.
dysfunctional one, but we're talking about a healthy relationship, and
Right.
we're
Right.
human beings at the heart of all of this stuff. So it doesn't matter what we're actually relating to. Our emotions are so primitively wired into us to run so much of our behavior in a loving and beautiful way. We just were never taught to interpret them. And I really think that for so many people, a key aspect of learning to love themselves and love their lives and appreciate where they are at is getting to know their emotions
Yeah.
rather than just like seeing it and like running away.
Yes. Yes. And, they don't go away anyway. If you have painful emotions that you're just kind of burying, they don't go away. They can actually contribute in part to health challenges, because it creates a blocked energy, in our body. And where there's blocked energy, there's pain, or they can contribute to dis-ease. It
Yeah.
doesn't cause it. People sometimes you hear, oh, negative emotions make you sick. No, 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 no. It's that
The
if you're
repression.
not connected with them, working with them, releasing them, their energy in motion, emotions, they
Yeah.
can contribute to problems, stagnation in the body.
I think I heard something like emotions figure out a way to be expressed either via your words or your symptoms. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
damn, okay, fine. Put it like really blunt, but
Right.
it's
Right.
so true. And I remember Gabor Mate, I was listening to a talk he did, and he talked about scientific names for things. So like high blood pressure is hypertension. I think it's like hypertension. Hyper stress equals blood pressure increase, right? So like that
Makes
makes
sense.
sense. And
Mm-hmm.
he went into depression, and he's like, think about it. Deep pressure. When you keep pushing things down, that energy keeps dragging you down and creates depression. I was like,
Yes. Yes.
that's a
You're
word stuff, you know?
depressing. You're
Yeah.
depressing all these emotions. Right. Mm-hmm.
All right. So for those who are listening, I guess our message to you today is that being healthy in a relationship or health in relationships requires you to know yourself at the bare minimum, and ideally growing to love yourself, because it doesn't matter if you don't like parts of yourself. Everyone doesn't like parts of themselves. It's about learning how to work with those parts, because they're not bad. They just are typically misunderstood because we're too afraid to look at them. And part of the journey of healing your relationship with your health, with your finances, with your family, with your friends is befriending your emotions and the energy that they're trying to communicate with you.
Mm-hmm. And underneath all emotions is love. That's what's underneath it all.
Yeah.
Bottom line. Mm-hmm.
Beautifully said. Sophia, I love your light. See, thank you so much for joining me today. And I am so happy you guys got to finally meet her. Any final words before we say goodbye to everyone?
I was so happy to be here too. I wish I could talk, on and on with you about these topics. And, I hope, I would love to, meet more of the people, and change by challenge, and work with some of the women, men also, on their wellness, on their love, relationships, life, any challenges that they have. It's all interconnected.
Yes, it is. And we will definitely have you back. And if this message resonated with you today, be sure to go to the Change by Challenge website and check out Sophia's page, because she is all about love for all the right reasons. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of The Challenges of Change. If you're ready to stop stressing and reclaim your sense of worth, be sure to visit my website at www.changebychallenge.com. There, you'll find loads of resources, blog posts, and information on how to work with me, Cora, as your personal mindset coach. Remember, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Don't let burnout or any other obstacle hold you back from living your best life. Take the first steps towards positive transformation today. Thank you again for listening. Stay confident, stay inspired, and embrace the challenges of change. Until next time.